This video is an introduction to Hydrosphere. Hydrosphere is a cloud collection and data monitoring platform manufactured by Xylem. It's an excellent pair with the DB600 system because it does natively support the Campbell scientific data logger that's built into the AR1 as part of the DB600. So Hydrosphere is a licensed product. It does require a license to be purchased, and normally you would do that at the time of purchasing your DB600. So if you haven't been issued your login credentials, then contact your sales support staff and make sure you get your login details. Otherwise, if you haven't actually purchased it, same thing, contact sales support and add it to the purchase. Okay, so we will use the login button. Sorry, I should have actually said that the URL to go to for accessing Hydrosphere is cloud.xylem.com/Hydrosphere. So Hydrosphere is one of the cloud solutions that Xylem manufacture. Yeah, make sure you go to the Hydrosphere extension, and once you're here, use the login button. So my credentials have pre-completed, so use your credentials here. Obviously, that depends on your choice of password and security method. So once you've done that, then log in. And if you have multiple accounts, so if you're managing sites across multiple accounts that as a support staff I commonly do, I have multiple, this is where you will select the account where you want to add your site, and then it will take you to the home page for that account. So if you have only one system, then it may not offer to choose which account at this point because you only have one. Okay, so once we've selected the account, the default homepage for Hydrosphere is that it brings up the dashboard view. Now, if you ever want to come back to this view, then this is your button here. There are obviously other views you can use, but this is the view that we will be looking at here. So I'm not going to go through all the features of Hydrosphere. Like obviously there's extensive options down here like network management, alarms, and data exports and things like that. What I'm going to focus on specifically for this video is how to create a new site. So to create a new site, use the create new button, and then it will give you the option of whether you want to create a new user, a new site, or a new network. So once you start to have multiple sites, you might want to group them in different networks. And you may have different users that provide different roles to your system, such as operations and management or technical support. So that's where you would manage the users for your site. But in our case, we are just creating a new site. Okay, so this is the create site display screen. Now, you will notice that the save button is grayed out. You cannot save your site until you've completed all the fields that are shown with an asterisk. So until you have valid information for all those sites, you actually won't be able to create the site. Now, let's start at the site ID. So the site ID cannot be changed once you've actually set up this information. So make sure that you set it up with something that is a constant for that site. So I normally like to use the AR1 serial number. So I will just call this one AR1, and then it's a 5-digit number. So let's just go 1000. Okay, now that use the serial number relevant to the AR1 that you're installing. So check your packaging and see what the AR1 is, or just choose any other site ID that you want. So if you know exactly where the system is going and you have an ID already assigned for that, then use that now. Now, the display name is what is displayed on the map. This can be changed. So yeah, the site ID, we're tying to the hardware, but you might say, this is going to be installed at Jones's Road Creek. So whatever name you want, enter that there, and that text can be changed if you move the site or if you choose a better name in the future. Now, network does not have an asterisk, so it is not required. You can just leave it at the default, and you don't have to have a description, and you don't have to add notes. It's up to you whether you change those fields, but you do have to have a latitude and you do have to have a longitude. So normally these latitude and longitude values will come from the GPS built into your AR1, but given that I'm just doing a demonstration, I will just choose some random values, and this one happens to be in Texas. So let's just leave it there for the sake of the demonstration. So we just checking that we have anywhere that has an asterisk, we do have a value. So let's move on to the data setup tab, and just to let you know, you can also add a picture to the site here, but you can always come back and do that later. So for setting up for testing, you don't have to enter that now. You can come back and do that later. So let's move on to the data setup tab. The addition of direct support for Campbell Scientific Data Log is a recent addition. Previously, Hydrosphere didn't support that, and we actually have the AR1 that's able to emulate a Storm 3 connection. So if you would rather use this method, contact support, and we can provide you with a program that allows you to do this. This does require programming built into the AR1 to have the AR1 mimic the functions or the methods of how it communicates back to Hydrosphere. But if you want the solution that works without changes in the AR1, which is our recommendation, then choose the Campbell method here. Okay, so this has actually brought up the Campbell setup wizard, and we can see currently that it does give you the option to establish connection. So once we have the valid parameters, it will give us the option to click that button. So yeah, the data logger name is really up to you. Again, I'm going to call it to my serial number. Now the CR300 is the model of the Campbell logger that is built into the AR1, so we leave that as the default, or you can just select it from the pull-down menu if it happens to not be your default. Now, the pack bus address, in an earlier video, we did look at, when we're looking at the dev config remote connection, we did look at the 3 parameters that make up the addressing that allows you to access your AR1 remotely, and that was a URL, a port, and a pack bus address. So I'll use the same station that we used in the demonstration stage, in the dev config demonstration, and that pack bus address was 1025. Now, the field that we didn't need when using dev config, we actually do need here, and that is the pack bus neighbor. So I'm going to tell you the figure. You just need to use the neighbor of 4070. So that is the pack bus router that allows us to get access to our site, and that will be the same regardless of your site information. So that pack bus neighbor will always be 4070. Okay. So we will be using the IP method, and again, like we showed in the dev config example, you will have a URL that ends in connect GDS. And for the demonstration station I was using, it was minos.connectgds.com, but that the actual values depend on your system. So check your packaging, check the label next to the switch, and make sure that you're using the address of your system, not my demonstration system. And in our demonstration system, the port that we use, so remember in dev config, we used a colon and then the URL colon and then the port. In my case, it's 8040, but your case will vary. Okay. And then we can scroll down to our scheduling. Now the default is every 15 minutes is the interval, and it will do a couple of retries, well, 3 retries every 2 minutes. You can set up secondary retries if you want, but you actually don't need to change any of these figures unless you want Hydrosphere to automatically adjust the clock with the correct time. You can select this box. In that case, select your data logger time zone. Now, this also depends on your location. I happen to know that this station is located in New South Wales in Australia, which is GMT plus 10. So I will set that here. I won't actually update data logger with the correct time because I know it's being managed locally. So Once we have that, once we've set up all the parameters, we can see that the establish connection button is now an option. So let's click that and see what happens. So it's, please wait. You can see the progress bar across the top, and this actually failed. So I can see the establish connection button is now an option, but I can actually see that the pack bus neighbor, for some reason, changed from 4070. So I'm not actually sure when that happened. So I'll just double check my values and see that it is 4070. And the other values are still valid. So let's establish connection now. And now we can see that the connection was successfully established. So Hydrosphere has used the URL, port number, and pack bus addressing to route directly to the station, and it is found out that the water quality, that it is a station fitted with water quality, and we can change these parameters now to match what we happen to know the water quality parameters to be. Now, I don't know these exactly, but I'm just going to give you some examples of how we would change them. So for instance, this might be temperature, this might be turbidity, this might be conductivity, um, this might be pH, ORP, DO, um, chlorophyll A, this might be battery voltage, might be internal temperature, or this might be water temperature. Um, this might be wiper position, wiper current, and cable voltage. So that's just the defaults in the program were listed from WQ1 through to 12, and I've just happened to give them descriptive names now. And we do want to keep the AR1 table as well, which is all our diagnostic information. And so once we've set all that up, we can click the add button and we can decide whether we want to retrieve the last 30 days of data from each table. So if this is a site that has been operating for a while, you would want to do that. However, if this is a site that is new, you probably would skip this step. But just so we have data, I will use the water quality table to restore, and that will give us some data to look at once we um, kind of look at the other tools in Hydrosphere to look at our data once it's been collected. So this is a summary screen, just shows you that everything that you've set up. And at this point, you can continue on to look at your alerts and who has visibility to this station. But for now, I will just click the save button, and that will show me that the site was created, and we can use the pull down option to view the site. Okay. So because I've only just created the site, it hasn't actually yet managed to retrieve the data. So I'll just wait for a little while until that happens, and then we will look at what you can do, how you can view the data and make sense of the data. So now we've given the station enough time to backfill the 30 days of data that we're after. So let's actually have a look at how we can use the tools to see the latest information. So the table we downloaded 30 days worth was the water quality table. Let's have a look at the first few parameters that we added, and let's select the duration of the last month because we've downloaded 30 days. And we can see that we have a very simple chart view of the historical information. So this is today on the right-hand side of the chart. We can see that we have temperature, what we called temperature in the blue value, and what we called turbidity in the black value. So you can actually deselect those and then go back and have a look at a different parameter if you would like. And for instance, now I've just looked at the temperature value, and given the range and the daily pattern, it's likely that this is actually temperature. So this is a fairly flexible, quick view of the chart information. You can change the duration relatively easily. You can enter in some custom values if you want to actually select a custom range, but the defaults are fairly good. So, and you can see that the cursor will show you the latest information at any point if you hover over the values, if you move along the axis. So the other way of viewing the data is table view. We will go back to the water quality table because that was the one we've downloaded. And this allows us to see the table showing a number of records per page. So we can change that. And then we can scroll through the pages so we can see this happens to be viewed on the 1st of June 2023. So we can see a couple of days ago what the values were. Now, obviously, it does look like this one's temperature, but it does look like this one's connectivity, and this one might be pH or something similar. So I've got my headings wrong, but you can see how easy that was to define. And so, yeah, this is the basic view. And obviously, we can go back to our homepage. We can look at the map view, and at any point in time, you can click on the down arrow and see the latest information on that map and click through to view the site. So, yeah, that's a quick overview of Hydrosphere. There's many, many more tools, including dashboards and alarms and things like that. So refer to the Hydrosphere documentation for more information on all of that. This is really a quick video to show you how to set up a site and how to quickly see the data from it. Okay, thank you.